a.m. on June 17th, 2021. As I mentioned, I'd like to call this meeting of the Police Department Community Advisory Committee to order in the interest of public health and safety and pursuant to the Governor's Executive Order N29-20. Members of the Police Department Community Advisory Committee and staff are participating in this meeting by teleconference. In accordance with the executive order, the public may view this meeting online only and not in the Chula Vista Police Department's community room. The city launched a virtual commenting portal, e-comment, that allows residents to comment and participate in the meeting from their homes. You can find the link to e-comment for this meeting at www.chulavistaca.gov/boards. Your comments must be received before I call for the close of the commenting period in order to be considered. After the commenting period is closed, I will announce a brief pause to allow the committee time to read any comments that have been received. If you have difficulty or need assistance with e-comment during the meeting, please email Captain Phil Collum for assistance at pcollum, C-O-L-L-U-M, @chulavistapd.org. So now I would like to have Kathy please call the roll.
Thank you, Chief. Member Ray Aragon. Member Martin Barros.
Present.
Member Gustavo Bidart. Norma, are you on yet?
She's
Okay.
trying.
Okay, thank you. Member Patty Chavez.
Here.
Member Takesha Corbett.
Here.
Member Jose de la Garza.
Here.
Member Henrietta Harb. Henry.
Here.
Member
Can you hear me?
Shante. Yes, thank you. Member Marla Kincaid.
Here.
Member Shante Lampkin. Shante, I see you on. You might be muted.
Present. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Member
welcome.
Anthony Milliken
Present.
and Member Gary Sablon.
Here.
Thank you.
So Kathy, do we have a quorum?
You do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you so much. So we'll move to section 3, which is public comments. Public comments is a section on the agenda for members of the public to address the committee on items that are not listed on the agenda. I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final public comments. Members, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear. We'll now start the clock.
Chief, the clock does not work on the PowerPoint, so I'm going to be using a different one here.
Okay, thank you. If you could just let us know. Oh, okay, I see it. Thank you. You know, it's very hard for me not to talk for 2 minutes. That was supposed to be funny.
Well, I chuckled.
I see that Norma has made it into the attendee area. Welcome, Norma. I hope you can hear me. I think she should have actually been in the panelist area, though.
Chief Captain Redmond will catch that and move her over to a panelist. He probably needs to wait until after this timer is done to do
Okay,
that.
perfect.
Yeah, let me finish this and I'll I'm trying to multitask here.
Okay, appreciate it. That's why you're the technology captain. Okay, the time is up now, a 2-minute pause. The commenting period for the public comment is now closed. Have the members had enough time to read any of the submitted comments? And first, I'd like to ask Captain Collum if we did receive any e-comments.
Thanks,
Phil, if
Chief.
you- there are no comments, Phil. I checked, and if you can't.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I've got it. And bear with me, Chief. There's a new commenting portal on the web, and it takes me just a moment longer to look at it. 0 comments were received via e-comment, and 0 comments received via email.
Okay, thank you. And just for the committee to take note, the city has changed to a new format, which has been a little bit difficult for us to get used to after we just got used to the last one. So bear with us a little bit. Because Marla Kincaid has to leave, I'm going to go out of order and pull 6.2, which is an update on de-escalation training. And Marla is going to present what that training entailed and what we've been doing and working with the district attorney's office to train our community. So Marla, I'll let you go ahead.
Chief, and thank you for this opportunity. I know I've had an opportunity to talk to the committee before about de-escalation, and it's a great opportunity to provide an update. And many of you have asked me about participating in the de-escalation training, so I want to be able to offer that invitation. So as an update of de-escalation training, as many of you know from my previous presentation, a law came in on 2020 called AB 392, which talks about law enforcement will now be looked at not just at the moment of force used or the officer involved shooting, but the pre-planning prior to that force. And so with the law change, there was an extension to that law, SB 230, that said training must happen because of this new law, AB 392. And so de-escalation training is a result of SB 230 to provide de-escalation training. And for those of you that didn't hear my first presentation about de-escalation training, it truly is a collaborative effort. And not just with law enforcement, but with community members and community input, with mental health providers, public safety providers, and law enforcement to develop a de-escalation curriculum. We were one of the first in the state to have a post-certified curriculum, and the curriculum addresses what we call the 5 A's. Hold on one second. And when we talk about the 5 A's, we talk about the need for de-escalation on the officers assessing the situation, the opportunity to assemble prior to making contact, the officers, deputies to anticipate and having that plan, to announce that plan and to communicate it with the final A of act. And so as you can see, as we provide the de-escalation training, we ask the officers that there are 4 A's to do before that acting, when that opportunity to hold back prior to acting is available. Now, I will say, if we have an active shooter, if somebody is in great bodily injury or harm or death, officers are going to immediately react. But on these cases where the officers are able to assess, assemble, announce, and anticipate before acting, the de-escalation training provides those techniques. And so it is a one-time 8-hour training that to date we've have almost 3,000 officers trained in our county. It's been very well received. Law enforcement will oftentimes, I will hear them say, well, we've been doing de-escalation training, and they have that. They've had verbal judo, they've had tactical communication. These are classes that post and law enforcement have been actively involved. In addition to that, the Chula Vista Police Department have been incredibly proactive of providing additional training to their law enforcement up and beyond most law enforcement agencies in the state when it comes to cultural competency and other type of trainings. But all of this training is incorporated into the de-escalation training, and we're getting good feedback from the officers. What we say is de-escalation is not just communication, which is important, not just tone and stance, but it is the approach, it is the tactics, it is the tools from less lethal to lethal. So de-escalation is the totality of how you approach the call. And I do have to say, and we say it even in de-escalation courses throughout the county, that Chula Vista PD has done a phenomenal job. And they have been progressive from 911 Live to their drone program. And as I mentioned earlier, the additional trainings they're providing their officers. And so, again, we've had about 3,000 officers trained to date. We are now moving into a second phase of de-escalation where we'll do refresher training. So because it is a perishable skill and we want officers to continue to have this opportunity, the exposure to de-escalation. And we also want to bring it to the community. And that's why I was asked to share it with all of you as my committee members, partners with me on the CAC. I'd like to offer you're all very busy. And so to ask you to go to 1 8-hour training a whole day is a lot to ask of all of you. And so what I've been able to put together for community members is a 3-hour overview training of the de-escalation. And so you're going to get parts of what the officers are hearing, anywhere from the 5 A's to active listening, and also have an opportunity to go through the role plays that the officers are going through to really learn firsthand the techniques that the officers are being trained in the de-escalation training. And so I can work with the captains on scheduling a time, but I want to know as a CAC, are you guys interested in participating in this? And if so, we'd very much like to get the community involved in the de-escalation training.
So Marlon, what I'll need to do is go to 2 minutes for public comments. So I'm going to read that first, and then the members will have an opportunity to ask questions afterwards. So I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on this item on the consent calendar. Members, as a reminder, please refresh your view on your screen to ensure new comments appear. Thank you, Captain Collin.
I think you may have meant Captain Redmond.
Oh, sorry. At least I didn't call him Don Clark, right? He doesn't have his camera on, so I saw your photo up there. Don is hiding from me. It's because he's multitasking and doing so much right now.
I am nowhere near as handsome and not even close to as smart.
There he is. Okay, 30-second countdown here. You're all being so quiet and very attentive. It's very impressive. I feel like a teacher today.
Aren't you supposed to hold up a finger or something when you want everybody to be silent?
No, you clap I think they were clapping like twice.
Yeah.
Okay, we made it past the 2 minutes. So the commenting period for this item is now closed. Hopefully, if there has been any e-comments, the members had enough time to read the submitted comments. And Captain Colm, if you could let us know if we did receive any comments.
Yes, Chief. 0 comments were received via e-comment and no comments were received via email.
Okay, thank you. Do any members have comments or questions regarding this item? I think Gary had his hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Marla for the information shared. I appreciate it. I, for one, would be interested in attending this 3-hour session. So if you could make note of that. And I know I'll probably learn more as I go through that training, but it was just a curious question of mine that came up regarding the timing of the 4 steps, those prerequisite steps before they act. In how many minutes or how much time does one have to complete steps 1 through 4? Missions happen so quickly.
That's a great question. And as you mentioned, more information in detail would be shared within the training. But that's the complexity and the difficulty of the law enforcement job. So we don't say that every call you need to have 15 minutes of de-escalation. De-escalation, and we show examples, and we'll show you, and you'll have an opportunity to view these examples. There will be videos where the situation unfolds very, very quickly, and yet the officer has to react immediately. And even in those immediate reactions, law enforcement is de-escalating. They are creating the time, they're creating the distance, they're going behind their car, they're giving commands, and that is a form of de-escalation. So we identify from the very quick de-escalation to the time where the officer has that ability to gather premise history, to request the drone to go up. So, and everything in between. And so we don't give absolutes. It's a great question. We can't train in a really like a tunnel vision type. We have to give them the tools and empower them to be able to navigate to the response of what the individual is able to do. Bottom line, the training is the individual that they're contacting creates the agency. We don't want law enforcement creating it. And so that's really the message. And so that time frame varies on the subject that they're contacting and the behavior.
Okay.
Yeah, great question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Anthony?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Marla. I appreciate the information. I learned a few things there. Just wondered if maybe you wanted to, in the outreach of this 3-hour session, if maybe you wanted to invite some of the, like our school board members, for example, just extend a courtesy invitation. I think they would, or many, not just our board, but other agencies as well. So it's just a thought, maybe create a flyer or an invite or electronic if they're interested. So just a suggestion.
Thank you. Marla, how many people attended the last training that you put on from the
If we
community?
go any more than 30, whether it's law enforcement or community, that's really our max. Because we want everybody to have that opportunity as they go through the role plays to, everybody has that experience. So I'd say 30 would be the max, but I agree with Anthony. If there are other community leaders that you feel would be important to attend this training, I'm open to it. There is no secrets about training of law enforcement when it comes to de-escalation communication and rapport building with the community. We want to get that information out.
And, I don't know that they all would attend, but maybe just extending the invite is a form of, hey, we'd love for you to attend. And those that would, I think, would get a lot out of it, so just a thought.
I 100% agree, Anthony, that recently I've really seen that there's been a lot of misunderstanding about training and about law enforcement, and anything that we can do to open dialogue and have more understanding and hear the concerns at the same time from the community, because a lot of the things that I have had the experience in my interactions is there's ways that we can ease concerns within our community as well. And part of it is to have this real open dialogue. And so I want to thank the district attorney's office for taking the lead on this. And you know, it takes a lot to put on one of these trainings. And it brings people from all different agencies, different backgrounds, different perspectives. And then you get to see all the effort that goes into the scenario. So much of it is scenario based. And so you go through the lecture portion, but then you go through actual hands-on scenario. So, and we took feedback from the last one that Marla provided from some of the community that attended. And I think right now they're actually even sending out some community feedback to see what else they wanted, what worked, what didn't work, what were their concerns, so that we can continue as a region to look at how we can improve relationships with the community and provide a deeper understanding of what officers encounter and what we're trying to do to de-escalate. Any other?
And what the chief is referring to is we had members of the Stand in the Gap Committee and members of the NAACP attend, and we're in the process of gathering that feedback. We received feedback at the day of the
And
event.
Shantae attended as well.
And it was wonderful.
I
and we-
did. I did. If I
Uh-huh.
could share. I'm sorry,
Love
Marla.
to hear from you.
No, go right ahead.
I thought the training was great. I thought it was a great reach out to the community. I thought there was great community participation. I know it was a modified training, and there was some mention at that time of possibly extending an offer to attend the full training. I think that would be a great idea. One of the things that stood out to me at that particular training is I don't know how much information the participants had going into it, but I feel like there might have been somewhat of a gap in the information that was shared. And there was a lot of time spent up front with trying to manage the conversation that could have easily gotten far more off track than it did with just community grievances. And I don't know that time was allowed or baked into the actual training process for that, but I believe you're going to get that regardless of when the training is held and where the training is held. You're going to get community members to come in and air their grievances, share their own personal stories, and want answers to questions. But I don't know that time was baked into the training process for that. So I feel like a lot of time was spent trying to just veer us back on track to the actual training. I love that it was hands-on. I love that there was role play. And time allotted for that. I love the videos that were included. I'll be honest, some were triggering, but I believe they are triggering, but I believe that's that's what our officers are dealing with on a day-to-day basis, number one. Number two, it's the realistic presentation of it all that takes us from a place of unawareness to awareness and helps us all to understand where one another's coming from. So I think overall, I thought the training was great, but if we could incorporate some time to really have some more community dialogue, and set clear expectations up front of what the community should walk away with. I will say I did have to leave the training a little bit early, so I don't know if at the end of the training, there were some next steps or some action items or takeaways that the community members could walk away with to share a different message with those that they come in contact with, but that might be helpful as well. So we're not just passing along information and it sits with whoever we pass it along to because they don't know how to disseminate it themselves. That might be helpful as well. But the training was great. And I myself wouldn't mind attending the full training if that ever becomes available.
Good. But let me respond to what the doctor was saying. Thank you for attending. I remember you being there. Spot on. We had a number of people that attended the training and we weren't aware of their attendance. And they came with one idea of what they thought the meeting was about. And so what you felt and what you saw, a little bit of but I want to talk about this particular incident that happened to me and the grievances. And you saw that we kept trying to put it back on track. At the same time, we didn't want to dismiss or devalue those comments that the community have. And so our next step is we have created a survey monkey that all those that have attended that training will be receiving. It will allow you to give feedback, but also there are very large sections where we want to hear from you, of all those that participated. And then once we get that, we're going to bring all those people that attended that training back. And it won't be a training, it will be an opportunity to have that dialogue. So there was a group of people that came in with a different agenda item, but we didn't want to dismiss their very valid comments. So now we're trying to blend it. So,
Ashante, what we wanted to do was find a way to have interaction, question and answer, comments, dialogue, hear from these individuals that really wanted to share, and then have a panel made up of multiple people from the law enforcement sector, you know, some chiefs as well, so that we can all really have more dialogue. But I have to tell you, it's having like the CAC or members from the CAC and from other community groups that want to make it they want to make it meaningful really helps us, because as you saw, some people have had some personal interactions that I don't know if I can ever help them feel completely comfortable with law enforcement. And I don't know what happened. It wasn't in our jurisdiction, but it makes me sad when I see that. And it makes me want to try even harder so that they can see that everyone that is in law enforcement doesn't represent that interaction that they had. But it's just gonna take time and building. And this was kind of we're trying to find ways. So anyone who has ideas, please share with either myself, Marla, because we're really looking for great ways of bringing people together right now and figuring out how we make policing better.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And I think the approach that you just described, Marla, with bringing communities together, taking that survey feedback, maybe even including a panel, I think that's going to be great and open up for some really good dialogue. So great steps.
I think Dr. Corbett had her hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you also for providing the platform for us to get a better understanding of what the training entails and the goal behind it. And I would absolutely be willing to attend the entire training if that's possible.
Okay.
I think that would be really informative, and also even help me have awareness of what maybe even some officers are thinking as they are reviewing some of these scenarios, because I'm not trained as an officer. So if that opportunity is available, I'd be really appreciative to participate. And then I also wanted to gain clarity on who's actually doing the training. Like, I know we're referring to Marla, but I don't really, and you mentioned the district attorney's office. So who's developing the training? What entity or organization?
question. So I'll start with the curriculum. The curriculum was developed by, well, we had to work within the law that came out, SB 230, as it related to AB 392. And so that was the platform. But we didn't want just law enforcement to come up with the curriculum. And so 2 years ago, we had a number of community forums where we asked the community, what would you like to see in de-escalation? And so those voices and that input was incorporated into the curriculum. We then leaned into our behavioral health programs and our mental health experts, and they then provided input and insight into the curriculum, especially when it comes to active listening and tone and body language and all that. And then we also leaned into our use of force and our defensive tactic instructors on the tactics and the safety of the approach for law enforcement. So collectively, we use community, behavioral health, and law enforcement to come up with the curriculum. And I'm really proud of that because I think what makes de-escalation different than a lot of curriculums is that 30,000-foot view. It's just not law enforcement teaching law enforcement. It's the value of having the other lenses incorporated into the curriculum. Who teaches it? Our defensive tactic instructors teach the tactical components of the training. Our behavior health and our hostage negotiators and our emergency negotiator instructors teach the communication.
From all different agencies, though.
Different agencies. So you're going to have San Diego to Chula Vista, to El Cajon, to Oceanside, and we really use a diverse number of agencies and behavioral health people to put on the training. So we have the input from the curriculum development to the instruction, and it really is a collaborative member. The only thing the DA is doing is District Attorney Summer Stephan put $1.5 million in the budget to help fund this. So agencies like Chula Vista PD, it didn't impact their budget. And so the DA's role was just to help kind of facilitate it and to put money behind it. But we leaned into the community on the instruction and the development of the curriculum.
Okay, and when you say we, who's the we? Like, who do you work for, I guess? Maybe it's
I
probably
work for the district attorney's office.
you work for, got it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
An important point.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
And then with the DA for about 2 years now. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
I just, Chief, I just wanted to say one thank you. I think in building trust is continuing to have opportunities where we welcome community and we welcome feedback and conversation. You know, it's hard when you've had, you know, experiences, but it's to share other experiences with them that I think will help. And I think Anthony's suggestion of bringing in school board members is excellent. There's a lot of angst right now out there. And it'll be important for us to partner as a community. And that means partnering with our officers and understanding, you know, how they're approaching things. I think it's excellent. So I'd love to be part of it as well.
Okay, I've got a whole list of names now. This is great. Any other comments? I know Norma is having, oh, who is that?
It's Henry.
Hi, Henry, go ahead.
I was just thinking about different venues to have this training. In other words, let's just say the police department, we can have like a barbecue there with hot dogs or something, you know, inexpensive, but to draw people in. And then maybe they can put on the training there, or, you know, different venues, follow the people instead of trying to make the people come to one place where it's kind of, some people don't even realize it was even happening. But if we can just like focus on the police department, and in that area there where we can have like a hot dog luncheon or something, and then, you know, bring in the groups.
That's a great idea. I think for Marla, the challenge was some of the scenarios and how they do them. They've been utilizing the probation department that has all the rooms set up for different scenarios and things. So I think we could possibly modify something that would be up to Marla and her team to create it. But I always love having anything here at the PD. And, you know, we went for 15 months without anything. So we're a little bit hungry for interaction and bringing the community in and having them have an opportunity to see, you know, who we are, because as I've often said, sometimes law enforcement gets dehumanized, and we've learned that now you've got to open your doors and bring people in so they can actually experience all the things that we do at the police department. So those are all great ideas.
Yeah, I would also add, if I could recommend, and I'm sure Marla has done this, reach out to our social justice organizations in addition to our school leaders, you know, individuals who are working or, you know, and can partner with our officers in the community, and they serve as also an opportunity for them to share what they've learned out to their community as well.
And I wanted to add, Patty, that's where you all can come into play, because what we experience right now, and I know Norma can't say anything because she can't get her microphone to work or a camera, but the experience that we've had recently is we've done so many reach outs and trying to do all those connections. And sometimes we can't get anyone to even communicate with us. And that's the challenge that we have right now. So as a CAC member, you might be able to be that link that helps us connect with individuals that maybe have had negative encounters, negative feelings, experiences, or just the atmosphere is negative where it comes to law enforcement right now. But you might be able to be that bridge that can help us. And we're always open. We have a new community relations officer, Officer Jeff Pace, who came from San Diego Police Department. I believe he was there 35 years. He is connected to everyone in the community and has been doing so much outreach for us and really helping us connect the dots right now as we're really trying to expand our outreach to the community. But it is sometimes difficult. And so that's where I just wanted to point out you could really help us. Any other questions or comments?
Chief, as you mentioned, Norma's having some technical difficulties and isn't able to speak or video working. So, but she did text me or send me a comment, just that she was interested in. Hang on, I'm trying to find it on my screen. She's interested in the 3-hour training.
Okay, I have 4 people down right now, so that's fabulous. So,
And make Jose 5.
okay, you got it,
Thank you,
Jose.
Chief.
Okay.
Gary, Anthony, school board member Shante, Takesha, Harrietta, Patty,
Norma and Jose.
And if you have an invite, I'm happy to share that with some community members. I think that, would be wonderful who could attend.
Perfect. We'll work on that. I also wanted to mention to you today is Marla's birthday.
Yeah.
So happy birthday, Marla. She was trying to get away without having anyone know that. Okay, well, thank you. We will move on then to section 4. We're backtracking to Chief's comments. And I wanted to give you just a quick update for those of you who don't know. There was discussion at one of the council meetings in regards to having potentially like a police oversight commission. And so part of the discussion that was brought forward was whether or not the CAC gets turned into that, or whether or not we have a separate standalone police oversight commission. And what does that mean exactly? So what we're doing right now at the police department is we're doing research. We're reaching out to other organizations that do. For example, in National City, they have a CAC, and then they also have a police oversight. And so what does that mean for our organization, and what will the commission do? And part of this comes from the concerns over policing in general right now, as well as technology and all the things that we're doing. Even though we've been very transparent on a lot of things, there's a lot of misunderstanding and information that goes out. And I really believe having the community involved in that and having a deeper understanding of what we're doing, that their voice sometimes is going to be more credible than our voice. So I don't even know necessarily at this point whether we will not have the CAC and change it. My guess is that we're going to have to define things out. Like maybe, for instance, the CAC would review policy and look at practices and what we do with training, and then we would have police oversight when it came to, for instance, technology. The discussion that I've had with our city management and council has been in regards to having the right people involved. For instance, when you're talking about police technology, you have to have people that have a background in that. When you talk about policy, you want to have the community aspect, and you want to have the legal aspect, that we have experts in that area. You want to have the community's voice always involved in every aspect. So it's really too early to know what we're going to do. I'll be reaching out to all of you to have input and give ideas. If you have, we've done a lot of research over the years on our CAC versus a police oversight. In the discussion, Carol knows a lot of the background on that. It had always been decided that they felt like the way that we did our our investigations and our discipline, the history showed that oversight committees were always more lenient than internally within law enforcement. So it'll be interesting as we go down that road to have discussion, but there's going to be some form of oversight that we will have. I believe it's important right now. So Carol, did you want to add anything else on that?
No, Chief, I think you covered it.
Okay, so that's what I just wanted to give you a quick update. I know a couple people had questions. I have a booklet right now where I'm stacking in from every agency that we can find an example that we think is worth looking at. So we will get back to you with more information on it, probably give an update at our next CAC meeting on that. I don't expect it to be quick because there's a lot of research that has to go into this, but it's something that I think is important. So I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final public comments. Members, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear. So I see Captain Redmond is trying to get our clock together. I should have everything memorized by now, but I don't. It feels odd and unusual to me, Norma, to not hear your voice on the other end of one of these meetings. I just had to make that statement. These 2 minutes do make for a longer meeting. Thirty seconds. Okay, the time has ended. The commenting period for public comments is now closed. Have the members had enough time to read the submitted comments? And I'm hoping that you have. Captain Collin, could you let us know if we have received any e-comments for the record?
Refreshing now, Chief, bear with me. New systems. Please do. Okay. 0 comments received via e-comment and 0 comments received via email.
Okay, thank you. So I wanted to open it up if any of the members had any comments. I don't see any hands raised. I know Norma and I have talked a lot about this, but I encourage you, if you have any opinions, comments, or recommendations, please reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to hear what you have to say. You can always reach out to any of the captains as well. Okay, we'll move on to 4.2, which is our School Resource Officer Program. And Captain Collin will give us an update on the program.
Thank you so much, Chief. So to members of the CAC, I just wanted to provide a little information about our SRO program. And as many of you know, we have had a School Resource Officer Program for quite some time. What you may not be aware of is that our School Resource Officer Program has been actually in existence for a very, very long time, since 1993, so over 20 years. And it's evolved over the course of that time, of course. Our school resource officers, they have their own mission statement, and we have a unique, really amazing school resource officer program. In fact, it's been a model across the country in the past. It's probably a little more common now in other organizations, but it's unique because, well, again, it's not that unique anymore, but our school resource officers are police officers that help build partnerships with school districts. And their focus is on not on what some people may think. Sometimes people think of school resource officers, they think of school police in the schools and, sort of standing by in the school campuses, perhaps, looking for bad kids or getting involved in school discipline or anything like that. That's actually the exact opposite of what our school resource officers do. Our school resource officers themselves have their own mission statement, and a couple of key words I just wanted to highlight out of that mission statement is that they work in partnership with the community, in partnership with the school districts, to be a point of contact and to build a relationship and liaison with our school districts. They do that through 4 key themes: prevention, intervention, education, and enforcement. Now, those 4 key pillars are worded that way in the mission statement on a very, very purposeful reason. You notice how enforcement was the last word in that mission statement, and that's because enforcement is the last thing the SROs actually get involved with and do. The vast majority of their time is spent building relationships with students and teachers and staff, and letting students and others get to know them, getting to know the students, being mentors and educators themselves. They spend a lot of time talking and listening to students, both for the purposes of helping mentor students, but also to identify issues or any potential issues going on in the students, in their family, in school or otherwise, so that we can work to address those issues. We, in cooperation with the district and others, can work to address those issues. And we do that not using criminal justice enforcement. We do that using a wide variety of partnerships, including community-based partners that sit side by side with our SROs here in the building, partnerships with the district and many resources available there and otherwise. So it is very, very different from some of the public perception about what school resource officers do. The reason why I wanted to just give this brief synopsis, that's a very brief synopsis of, quite honestly, a 45-minute presentation. And I could go into much more detail, and I'm happy to answer any questions. But the reason I wanted to just update you is because there have been some questions recently from the members of or representatives of the school districts at the elementary school level and the high school level about what is it that SROs do. And the questions come up because the school districts actually fund a portion of the costs of that program. Our SRO unit is made up of 12 sworn personnel, including a supervisor and an agent. And between the elementary school district and the high school district, they fund about 7 of those 12, part of the cost, about 80% of the cost of about 7 of those 12 positions. The rest of the funding comes from the police department. And so as that funding is through a memorandum of understanding, and as that memorandum of understanding comes up for renewal every year, this year, as a part of the general dialogue, the general discourse in community today about police community relations and police accountability, there have been more questions than ever about why do we have school resource officers in the first place, and what do they do? So I just wanted to give you an update that we've been spending a lot of time dialoguing with our districts, our district officials, our teachers, and so forth about this process. The chief and I and others were part of a presentation to the Sweetwater Union High School District this past Monday evening, and then last night to the Chula Vista Elementary School District. I think the presentation went pretty good. There was definitely some good questions. It was highly, I think, informative to the people that attended. And I hope, one of the things we've talked about here at the CAC is, we have a hard time about telling the community about us, quite honestly. And because of that, there's sometimes a misconception based on what people see in the news in another area, or perhaps get in their social media feed, whether it's accurate or completely inaccurate, that can paint an inaccurate picture of our policing organization, our vision, our culture, and how we do our work. And that's really where we were focused. So we'll see. I just wanted to give you an update on that. These issues are still in discussion with the districts. And so as members of the CAC, as representatives of our community, and also as ambassadors and liaisons for our police department, I wanted you to be aware of this dialogue and discussion. We have extremely positive support from district officials and staff, from principals and assistant principals and others in the school district. But there are certainly questions, much like there are all about throughout the community, from primarily I've heard some from some teachers and teacher groups and unions, as well as perhaps from some parents. But by and large, based on the information I'm receiving, my sense is we're hearing from a relatively one group of individuals about questions or even challenges about why are we funding police at all. Whereas on the flip side, according to what we see every single day through the eyes of the women and men that serve on the SRO unit, the support and love and passion for the SROs and what they do by the students and by the families and by the staff. And that is, based on what I've seen, seems to be a large majority. But it's a fairly quiet majority. And so I wanted to let you know about this discourse. And if you have an opinion on the school resource officer program, if you have experience with it, one way or another, if it's positive or negative, if it's negative, we'd absolutely love to know about it. We'd encourage you to let us know. We encourage any member of the community to let us know. As always, we're listening. We know we're not perfect, and we want to make corrections and get better and evolve through time. And we're passionate believers in that. But we hope that most of the experience is positive. That's certainly anecdotally what we have heard and seen. But either way, if you have a thought on this and would like to share, I highly recommend you and any member of our community reaching out to their respective school board representatives, or perhaps taking an opportunity to submit or speak a comment at one of the meetings to talk about, in brief, about the SRO program in your either support or your lack of support for it. Either way it is, I'm not taking sides here. We just think it's very important that the school board of trustees, who of course aren't working in the schools every day, they may not have the same day-to-day experiences and or even knowledge that, say, a principal or assistant principal or others may have today, to let them know what your thoughts about the school resource officer program are. And I encourage the same thing for everyone else in our community as well. So that's really it. Again, we're not sure exactly where this is headed. We hope positive. I'm always an optimist, but there's certainly some question in the air. And that's why we wanted to give you a heads up now, and also ask for your continued advocacy, both for the community and for the police department as appropriate.
Thank you, Captain Collins. So I'll now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final public comments. Members, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear. So Captain Redmond will start the timer. A brief moment of silence. I see my command staff always laugh at me, which is so nice to see that they find me entertaining. I think it's that you guys find it entertaining that I can't sit still for 2 minutes.
Hard for me to criticize that, boss. I can't sit still for about 30 seconds.
I think it's because we're always on the go with the police department, multitasking, doing multiple things at one time. Okay, we're getting close. All right, the commenting period for the public comments is now closed. Hopefully the members have had enough time to read the submitted comments. Captain Collin, would you please announce for the record the number of comments received?
Bear with me, Chief. Let's see. Okay, Chief, I have received no comments via e-comment and no comments via email.
Thank you, Captain Collin. Any member comments? Anthony?
I'll be careful to, as an employee of one of those agencies that was mentioned, I need to make sure that I'm not speaking for the agency, but just as an individual. And from a staff perspective, we strongly support, our SRO program, and certainly would echo the captain and chief's comments about the importance of the program. We need your voices more than ever. Your presentation went well, but I'm sure you understand there was another presentation later in the agenda that kind of questioned the effectiveness of SRO programs nationally, and I think it goes back to what Captain Collin pointed out, that people are extrapolating national incidents, national data. And even in our case, we're an elementary district, they're extrapolating high school experiences and saying that this, is occurring in our elementaries, when in fact that's not the case. And with Captain, if you don't mind sharing at some point kind of the differences, that there really aren't arrests made of elementary age students. I mean, that's a big distinction. But again, just as a staff, I'm not in any way contradicting any elected officials' comments from my agency or any other, but simply saying that I appreciate your partnership with our system.
Thank you, Anthony. Captain Collin, did you want to add to his comment?
Yeah, absolutely. Just first off, to answer that question or that request, abundantly correct. Committee member Milliken is right. Elementary school kids don't even get arrested. There's a number of laws and reasons for that. Obviously, you're talking about kids of a very, very young age. In extreme circumstances, a youth may be what's legally called detained by an officer for their protection or for the protection of others, for example. Those are really, really extreme circumstances. I can't even think of one off the top of my head that has happened. I'm not saying it couldn't happen or it hasn't happened. I just don't know of any actually anecdotal stories of that. Especially at the elementary school level. We are oftentimes talking about youth who, like when you talk to our school resource officers, I was talking to just the other day, and they were describing their experiences when they walk onto these campuses. And, there was some discussion from some members of the community, or a member of the community, about students who fear police officers on the schools, and how one of the missions of the school resource officer program is to provide safety on schools, but also a sense of safety. And there was a particular public comment that had suggested, or a comment that had suggested that it was actually doing the opposite, basically, that because of officers on the schools, it was creating fear and thus interrupting the educational process. And I shared that with, or that was shared with one of our SROs, and I think they were really surprised because they described situations. They go, obviously, they're on campuses all the time, and when a school, especially in the elementary school, when a school resource officer arrives on the campus, they have dozens of kids running up to them to hug them, to say hi, to talk to them. It's a loving, compassionate, and caring, mentoring style relationship, and it's important that those relationships are developed as early as possible, because sometimes not all kids, of course, grow up alike, and the availability of positive mentoring influences on the kids. Sometimes at school, maybe is their best opportunity to get it. And kids at school, it's great, and the district, the staff does an incredible job. Anthony's right. We feel and know incredible support. The staff really acknowledges the value of what the school resource officers do from that perspective. But kids are only in school so many hours a day. And when kids go home, sadly, sometimes a number of things can happen to them. They're also under bad influences, both perhaps sometimes in the home, sometimes outside of the home, on the streets or otherwise. And our same officers are working with them. And so what the SRO program affords is, with all of the resource that they have, all of the special training they get on youth development and sort of inclusive programs. Our SROs provide an opportunity for the police department to work in partnership with the district and the officials so that we can provide sort of whole wraparound service and care based on each individual student's needs and their family's needs, for that matter, no matter whether we are learning about potential issues in school or 5 hours after school. And that's a really important component. Yes, the short answer to that question is, yep, we don't arrest youth. They can be detained, but those are really extreme circumstances, and I can't even think of one offhand. Of course, it is possible, especially at the elementary school level. It is really about nurturing, creating a safe environment, making sure it feels like a safe environment, because kids can't learn if they don't feel safe. And then also it's about building those constructive, positive relationships and helping identify potential issues early so that we can work in partnership with our community partners and our school districts and others on providing the resources we need to make good adults in the future, good, productive members of our community.
Just one last thing, and then we'll move on. I know we have a lengthy agenda, but if you can add in your presentation, kind of, I thought it was really revealing when Sergeant Piccone shared, again, that your SROs come to our campuses because they're called, typically calls for service. That means there's something going on at the campus. So they're there to assist us. And so maybe getting into some examples of what the calls for service are and the kinds of, and I know you had a slide to that effect, but just very, very brief examples that illustrate. For us, from the staff perspective, you're a tremendous resource. Public probably will never see outside of the social media in terms of how you assist in threat assessment, right? When we get those late night, social media postings that somebody's going to appear at a school and do something bad, you guys are there in the wee hours verifying, what's real, what's not, and helping us communicate that. So I can't imagine not having your school resource officer program. And again, I apologize if I've said too much, and certainly hope I don't get in any repercussions for my remarks. But I'm stating again, repeating this as a member of the committee, not as an employee.
Well, thank you for sharing, Anthony. We appreciate that. Any other comments?
Can you hear me? This is Norma.
Oh my gosh, Norma, I feel better now. Go right ahead.
I know I need to apologize. I've never had problems getting into WebEx, and today, forget it. I think the captains are sick and tired of me right now. But anyway, just wanted to share that I was alerted to the meeting with the Chula Vista Elementary School District where for Captain Collum and Chief Kennedy. Primarily Captain Collum did the presentation with the SROs. I came into it a little late, but I was able to listen in and stuff. And first of all, Captain Collum, you did a wonderful job with your presentation. So kudos to you. I also want to say, though, that regarding your comments about the majority of the feedback you've gotten has been very positive, and of course, all the entities that are involved are very positive about it. But at the same time, absolutely understanding that there are some negative feedback and things like that, and including from not necessarily negative, but challenging questions from a couple of the of the board members, but I do want to say that that's their role. You know, absolutely to bring up concerns, maybe as a voice for the community kind of a thing. And I don't see it as negative, but I see it as it's an opportunity to continue to seek what we need to do, what the department needs to do in order to ensure the public feels safe in that. And that's how we grow. We grow from these questions, these challenges that are thrown at us. So I do appreciate your responses from both of you. I think you handled the questions well. All the questions that were asked from any of the board members, and my perception is that all board members appreciated the responses to their questions, and you know, we'll continue, you know, addressing concerns from the public. So that's for sure. But what I do want to encourage, and I do suggest to the chief and Captain Collum, is that anytime the department is going to be doing a presentation, like I said, I was alerted to the Chula Vista one. I didn't know anything about the Sweetwater presentation that you were going to do. Maybe, you know, I would appreciate if you would send a notification to the CAC members, alerting them to these meetings, so that, you know, we can have access, we can choose to attend or not. But I think it's important for us to attend these because we need to know as members what the issues are.
That's a good point, Norma. And you know what? I think Captain Collum and I and the other captains, we're always so busy. Sometimes we forget.
Yes.
I'm going to ask Kathy if she can help us with that, to remind us, so that we'll make sure to give you all an opportunity to participate, or at least listen in, so you can hear what some of the concerns are.
Right, because that's how we learn too.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I just because again, a good presentation, and I appreciate your work.
Thank you.
And Norma,
Yeah.
sorry,
sorry,
Chief, just if I could, I just wanted to say I really appreciate Norma's comments. I hope I didn't come across defensive, because it really does. That's not how I feel at all. It was a really good presentation. I mean, in two directions, right? We had some hard questions, and we worked through those. Hopefully, we provided adequate answers. People have their different perspectives, and although I may personally have a different perspective than somebody else, I respect and value other people's perspectives. More importantly, I don't know my blind spots. I've said that many times. We as a department don't know our blind spots. And so that's part of the value. That's part of the reason why it's so important that we listen. And so this was, and from my perspective, a two-way conversation. I think it was extremely positive, even where it was difficult. Extremely positive, because I did get to hear the perspective. We got to hear some perspectives that we may not have thought of, and some really some great ideas, some great new concepts came out of it, like how we, in a more formalized and structured way, how we reach out to youth, perhaps the kids that aren't running up to our SROs when they arrive on campus, right? Perhaps those kids that don't feel comfortable or trust policing. How do we outreach to those? How do we engage in dialogue? And address concerns that may exist. So some really, really, really good work. I just wanted to thank Norma for those comments.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, and I know that we're getting into the, our time frame, so I am going to pass. Jonathan, you get a break. 4.3, the budget, there's nothing really significant that I need to share on that, so we'll hold that over to the next meeting. And we'll move on to action items. And item 5.1 is the approval of the minutes from our April 1st, 2021 meeting. And hopefully we'll now review the minutes. I'll call for I know you have to do this a lot, but we'll call for the 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on this item on the consent calendar. Members, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear. I want to make sure we get to 5.2 today. This was when you grab your water. One minute. Thirty seconds. I'm trying to make it exciting. Ten seconds. Get ready, Captain Colin. The commenting period for this item is now closed. Have the members had, and I hope you've all had enough time to read all the submitted documents, comments. Captain Collin, would you please announce for the record the number of comments received in favor and or opposed to this item?
Chief, 0 comments were received via e-comment and no comments received via email.
Do any of the members have any comments or questions in regards to the minutes? Okay. Not hearing any objections. Is there a motion to?
Oh, wait a
item
minute.
number-
I'm sorry.
Go-
Did
go
you
ahead,
say,
Norm.
okay, so I had to attend to my aunt real quick. So we're on the minutes?
We're on the minutes.
Okay, yeah, there were some issues on the minutes.
Okay.
On the ALPR update, on the second paragraph, it says CAC member Kincaid thanked the chief and command staff for listening to the community concerns on confidentiality. She said it is a device to empower police community partnerships. Is that the word? Was it regarding confidentiality?
I'll have to have Kathy look back at that to
Yeah.
see. Kathy's listening in right now, so I know she's taking down this information.
Yeah.
And as well, Norma, if you wanted to clarify what your intended statement was, I'm sure you said it like you meant to say it. We can.
No, she's saying it was Marla.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're right. My bad.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure whether the concern was regarding confidentiality in this particular. Yeah, maybe, maybe I'm wrong. It just didn't
Okay.
make sense to me. Also, on the paragraph above, the name of the organization is Alliance San Diego, not San Diego Alliance.
Okay.
Okay. And then on the third page, second paragraph, was the committee forum on April 27th or it was April 7th? It says April 27th.
Okay, we'll look back and double check on that. I think
Yeah,
it might. I think it was April 7th.
Yeah, I think it was April 7th.
Do you recall?
It was the 7th. It was the 7th, Chief. Good catch, Norma.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Norma, very good.
Well, I do read the minutes, so it's like
I appreciate that.
So anyway, yeah, that was it.
Okay, thank you. Any other?
Wait, wait. I'm sorry. Page 6 on where it says committee approved the creation of the ad hoc subcommittee and elects committee members to provide input. It doesn't say, didn't we decide on that meeting who volunteered or who were going to be the committee members?
Yes.
Okay, I don't think they're on there.
Phil, do you have that?
Yes, I do have the names, and I will, we've had several email communications back and forth in the last couple of weeks scheduling our meetings. I will get the names to Kathy and add the names of the committee members into this portion of the report.
Okay, that was it. Thank you.
And then Chief, if you like, I can call Marla real quick just to confirm that one statement.
That would be great.
Okay.
Okay. Any other member comments? Okay, is there a motion to approve item number 1?
With those corrections in
With
mind?
those corrections, yes.
Yeah, I move to approve the minutes for April 1st, 2021.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Martin.
Martin, thank you very much. Okay, I have a motion by member Norma Casares and a second by member Martin Barros. Kathy, please conduct a roll call to vote for the minutes.
Thank you. I will now request each member vote by roll call. Please say yes or no. Member Aragon is not here. Member Martin Barros.
Yes.
Member Norma Casares.
Yes.
Member Patty Chavez. Patty, you're on mute.
Put it in mute, sorry. Yes.
Member Takesha Corbett.
Yes.
Member Jose de la Garza.
Yes.
Member Henrietta Harp.
Here? Yes.
Member Marla Kincaid. I think Marla has gone.
Yes, she has.
Member Shante Lampkin.
Yes.
Member Anthony Milliken. Anthony. Okay. And member Gary Sablon.
Yes.
So I have 8 yeses, 2 were not available. That would be Marla and Anthony. And
So
I'll
that's a
record that.
quorum. Okay, so the minutes passed. Thank you very much. We'll move on to 5.2, consideration to read aloud public electronic comments. So if you recall, when we met April, it was recommended by co-chair Casares that any e-comments submitted shall be read aloud to show transparency and capture comments in the minute. Our attorney, Carol Trujillo, confirmed that this is optional and needed to be discussed and voted upon during this meeting. I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on this item on the consent calendar. Members are, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear. So Captain Redmond, will you be able to set the timer for us? I don't see him. So I'm going to do the timer on my phone. Oh, there he goes.
He's got it.
Okay.
And
It
then
must have all-
Chief and members of the CAC, while we're waiting for comments on this particular item from the public, I can address the question that came up on the minutes from the last meeting. I just spoke to member Kincaid, and she did think that this comment, as was in the minutes, is relatively close, but she did suggest we can clarify it a little bit better, and I have that wording change. And I know Kathy is listening and taking notes. So once again, on the minutes from the last meeting, this was on the bottom of page 2, the last paragraph, where the paragraph begins with CAC member Kincaid thanked the chief. And she said that we could clarify this by saying CAC member Kincaid thanked the chief and command staff for listening to community concerns on confidentiality and working to address those concerns. She also said we could add to the minutes in the next sentence that she said that this work helps empower police community partnerships. So I hope that makes it a little clearer, and I've got those noted down. We'll make sure it's corrected in the approved minutes.
Thank you, Captain Collin. We're down to 30 seconds. Okay, the commenting period for this item is now closed. Hopefully the members had enough time to read the submitted comments. Captain Collin, would you please announce for the record the number of comments received in favor or opposed to this item? You're muted.
Thank you very much. Yes, Chief, no comments were received via e-comment and no comments received via email.
Thank you. Do any members have comments or questions regarding reading e-comments allowed during our virtual meetings?
Yeah, this is Norma.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, I was the one that requested that we take this into consideration. And basically that comes from supporting what the department has been striving to do, which is to be completely transparent and open. And especially during this period of time with COVID and us having these virtual meetings and technology being so challenging. And for some of us, I'll own that one. But even trying to access the public comments sometimes is difficult for us to read or whatever. And sometimes when you get a number of them, you can't read them all. So anyway, I think there's a lack of respect for our community as well by not reading them aloud as community members, but also tax-paying members who pay who pay the salaries of public entities such as the city and the department. You know that in light of especially things that have been happening and feeling dismissed, where the community feels dismissed in that. I don't think there's any better time than to, add to our openness and transparency by reading each and every e-comment. Certainly other public entities do it now. In fact, I was in the city of San Diego meeting and they read 120 public comments out
Oh my
loud.
word.
And does that add to the length of the meeting? Absolutely. But as public officials, and that is, I'm talking specifically to the city, and I think our city too, is that elected officials need to suck it up. That's what they got elected to do, and listen to the community, listen to the public. So anyway, so that's why I felt it was important for us to, as a committee here, to offer that to our public so their voices can be actually heard. So I hope that we support that.
Yes, thank you, Norma. Any other comments from any of our members? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion to approve reading aloud any e-comments received for our CAC meetings?
This is Jose, I move.
I second.
Okay, Jose, and was that Patty second?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So I have a motion by member Jose de la Garza and seconded by member Patty Chavez. Kathy, please conduct the roll call vote to approve the item.
Thank you. Please answer yes or no, members. Member Martin Barros,
Yes.
member Patty Chavez,
Yes.
Chair Casares,
Yes.
member Takesha Corbett,
Yes.
member Jose de la Garza,
Yes.
member Henrietta Harb,
Yes.
member Shante Lampkin. Shante,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go.
member Anthony Milliken,
Yes.
and member Gary Sablan.
Yes.
Thank you. That
Thank
is
you,
a quorum.
Thank you, Kathy. We have two more items on our agenda. I don't know if it's 11 o'clock. Does anyone have any objections to moving forward, or would you prefer for me to hold it for our next meeting?
Chief, can I just, one point of clarification? One of the items on the agenda, it's item 6.3, references future CAC meetings as pandemic restrictions are lifted. And in light of the last vote, I just wanted to let the CAC know that it looks very likely that when the emergency order is lifted, which could happen at some time in the near future, virtual meetings may not even be possible anyway. So, with respect to reading comments aloud, we'll go back to, we may need to go back to in-person meeting pursuant to the Brown Act shortly here anyway. So that was just a heads up.
Thank you. So you basically did item 6.3. So we only have really, in reality, one more item, which is the automated license plate reader forum recap from Captain Thunberg, which should be relatively quick. So if no one's opposed, I'm going to move forward with that. That's item 6.1. Captain Thunberg, would you like to give a quick update on that?
Yep. Thank you, Chief. Thanks, everybody. I will be brief. This is difficult just because of the complexity of this and the amount of work that has been done and is being done. But you're all aware, I believe, of the timeline. Since April 20th, which was the council meeting where we presented and then kind of came up with some changes to the program moving forward. We've been doing a bunch of information, a bunch of work behind the scenes. We've essentially restricted data sharing to only California agencies. We've been doing audits and working on our audit report out. Researching with the company to try to figure out what custom reports or what reports they can create for us, and we've continued to reach out or respond to members of the community who have reached out. A lot of it has come through Public Records Request Acts, but also other venues as well. Unfortunately, as Phil mentioned earlier, there's a lot of negative and/or incorrect or both comments or information out there about ALPR. Recently, we've been hearing people claiming that the police department basically sold immigration information to ICE and Border Patrol. That's completely false. Obviously, we don't collect immigration information, and therefore we can't share it. And B, we don't sell our information. And so we've been doing what we can to correct that narrative, but that can be just extremely difficult. I know that there's an ad hoc committee that's been selected, as referenced earlier, that'll be moving forward. We've been working on policy amendments and updates, which I think will be one of the points of discussion, as well as working with the city moving forward for some sort of a citywide technology update or technology forum where we'll
Smart
be able to.
City Forum.
Thank you, Chief. Smart City Forum, where we'll be able to articulate, explain, educate what we're doing technology-wise, whether it be ALPR or any of the other platforms and things that we use and the city uses. I know that I'm trying to be brief in the interest of time. I know there was a lot of concern. We did gather 75 questions worth of data from the forum, which we shared with the community. I know there was some frustration with the forum itself as far as whether it was a forum or a listening session, and that was designed and set up as it was by the city, and so we took what we could and shared it. I know that caused some frustration, and so we're working through that as well, because the input we've got, quite honestly, is good. We've got some things that we are unaware of and things that maybe we need to focus on, which has been shared through a number of venues as well. So moving forward, I'm hopeful that we can sit down with the ad hoc that you folks have volunteered for to kind of look at this moving forward, make sure we're receptive and using good, smart, reason-based decisions, et cetera, and keeping what the community expects. So that's
Eric, if I can add just one thing. Sure. Eric has a team. They're working on updating and adding more information to our ALPR webpage to provide more details, provide the audit information, add more frequently asked questions, because as he mentioned, we at a couple of the different venues we were at recently, people were telling other people that we were selling data. So we're just going to be very direct in some of our responses to some of those questions. But please take a look at, it hasn't been finished yet. They're adding more to it every day, but we really need your input if it does answer the questions and the concerns, and if we need to do more on our webpage as well, because we're trying to find every avenue we can to be more and more transparent.
And thank you, Chief. Good point. That is a work in progress as we go on. We're updating the, kind of tough to keep up with the information on a daily basis, but we're working to make sure we're as inclusive as possible and responsive as possible to all of the concerns and information that we're receiving.
Okay, thank you. So I'll now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on the item, this item on the consent calendar. Members, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear. And Captain Redmond's already on it. 2-minute timer. After this, we'll be moving on to member comments. And thank you to everyone for your patience today. We had a lot to cover. I appreciate you staying on a little bit longer. Thirty seconds. Look at Captain Thunberg's getting excited. Okay, the commenting period for this item is now closed. Hopefully the members have had enough time to read submitted comments. Captain Collum, would you please announce for the record the number of comments received in favor or opposed to this item?
Chief, no comments were received via e-comment and no comments were received via email.
Do any of the members have comments or questions regarding this item?
Hi, this is Norma again.
Go ahead, Norm.
I just wanted to compliment Captain Thunberg for the wonderful presentation he did. I think he was the most prepared person at that so-called community forum. The fact that he took the time to respond to, I don't know how many, I think 75 or more questions that the public had been questioning through different venues. So he was prepared and supplied the questions and answers ahead of time, also for the public to review. So anyway, congratulations. You did a wonderful job, Doctor. Hey, maybe
Oh,
I'm gonna
now
make you
you
a
made him
doctor.
feel really good. Dr. Thunberg.
Okay.
Thank you, Norma.
But anyway, I just promoted you. But anyway, you did a good job. I was like the captain indicated, I too was very frustrated with the format. It was not the typical community forum where the community has an opportunity to present a side and or ask questions. It was awkward. I felt sorry for the clerk to have to say, you know, if you have questions, call the police department. That was horrendous to me. So hopefully that will be addressed in the future. But I was equally frustrated with some of the public comments which it was very clear that a lot of the commenters did not read the report because their questions would have been answered within the report, but instead, came across angry in that, which of course they're entitled to be. But, my goal with community that comes to me is to basically call them out on that, which is, if you're going to make comments, make sure you read the material before you comment. And I think if people would have done that, there would have been less negativity. And again, the public is entitled to say or do whatever they want, but being prepared for these things is certainly very important. I also encourage, I think Gary was on there too. I encourage all our CAC members to take these opportunities to engage with these events, because as members, we need to be as informed as possible. And the only way that's going to happen, is to check in on these. And anyway, thanks again. Captain, you did a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Norma.
If I could
Gary.
add, a little bit more, yes, Norma, I was listening in remotely on the city council meeting, and I do want to say kudos again to Captain Thunberg. He did an excellent job. One thing that I wanted to highlight was the support that overall we got from the city council. The words that Mayor Salas uttered in support of the chief, the staff, and everyone for the work they've done around ALPR, as well as leading us on many other different fronts. And I was very moved by the impassioned speech from Councilman Padilla, and to see how much he had to say in support of our department. So, I just wanted the other members of the committee who weren't present or didn't listen in on that meeting. It was very contentious. And I was certainly thrilled with the final vote, and wanted to highlight that even at our city council level, that they took the time out in front of the audience and in front of those who were clearly not in favor of ALPR. And I value their opinion, but that, Chief, you had the backing of our elected officials, and just wanted to recognize you and the staff, Captain Thunberg, Captain Collum, Redmond, everybody, for leading the way and being so transparent and so available to the community. Well deserved.
Well,
So
thank you, Gary. I appreciate that. It was hard to hear people make comments in regards to, our immigrant community, as if we would be focused on them, because that is something that I think I said at the last city, the school board meeting, that, we look at how we treat everyone, and everyone encompasses, whether you're undocumented, your document, you've lived here your whole, it doesn't matter. We are here for our community. Everyone matters to us. And it's a hard time, but I think that if we continue the way that we are, and we engage our community, and we make all the efforts, and many of you on this committee have helped us make more strides in our outreach, we'll get there. It can be disheartening, but we always try to stay optimistic. We have a motto here: take the higher road. Even when it's harder to take the higher road, we do it because it's the right thing to do. So I was very pleased with the support from our council, though. And I appreciate everyone who stays engaged with this, because we have to correct the message with people, because unfortunately it's getting changed and turned, and it really is concerning to community members to think that we would do that, and we just don't share any documentation, any immigration information. We don't know. If people ask me, how many undocumented individuals do you have in the city of Chula Vista? I would have no idea because we don't ask those questions. So we'll get through it though. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, so thank you, Captain Thunberg. Appreciate you giving that update. We'll now go on to item number 7 and just see if anyone has any comment. I'm not going to call you individually, but if anyone would like to make a comment or ask a question, please, this is your opportunity. I think we've had a pretty comprehensive meeting. Okay, well, I will go ahead, and it is, according to my phone, 11:13 a.m. and I'm adjourning this meeting to the next regular meeting of the Police Department's Community Advisory Committee on Thursday, October 7th, 2021. We have the time listed as 9:30. We were assuming that it was going to be a virtual meeting, but we do believe, as Captain Collin mentioned, that we will not be able to have virtual meetings according to our requirements. So it will be at the police department in the community room. We'll have to reach out to you individually to determine what time will work, whether it would be better for us to go to a late afternoon or stay with the early morning. So we'll reach out to you individually. And I just wanted to say thank you, everyone, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be a part of our CAC committee. It means the world to all of us. So have a wonderful day, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief and staff.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye all.